Hey guys, my name is Michael and this is my channel, Opinions by Mike, and today I'm going to talk about why the Celtics can't win a championship with their current roster. To start off, I'm going to talk about how the Celtics roster is constructed. The top three paid players on the Celtics roster for the 2021 season is Kemba Walker at $34.3 million, Gordon Hayward at $34.1 million, and Jaylen Brown at $23 million. So together, these three add up to $91.4 million. So you can kind of consider this the Celtics' big three. And yes, I do know about Tatum, but he's not technically on a max deal yet, so I haven't involved him in here. So next, we're going to compare them to the Lakers, who won the championship just now. We have LeBron James at 39.2, Anthony Davis at 28.7, and lastly, we have Danny Green, the third highest paid player at 15.3 million. And together, these three, their contracts add up to 83.2 million. So let me ask you this: would you rather have Kemba, Hayward, and Brown for 91.4 million? Or would you rather have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Danny Green for 83.2 million? For me, I would take the Lakers' big three, even with Danny Green, because they're 10 million cheaper, and I have LeBron and AD, two of the best players in the world. So if you think about it, the Celtics, their big three, Kemba, Hayward, and Brown, they're pretty much getting paid the same amount as LeBron and AD. And for the same amount of cap space, who would you rather have? Kemba, Hayward, and Brown? Would you rather have LeBron James and Anthony Davis? I mean, I know who I would pick. Obviously the second, because they just won the championship, which shows that Celtics, their big three is paid a little too much. And it's great that you have three max players, but these three players are not technically worth max contracts compared to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. These three players are a step down from what we consider to be superstars, and because of this, the Celtics can't win a championship because their roster is not constructed well enough, because their three top players are paid way too high. Not to mention the fact that Tatum is up for a max contract next year. With this, you're going to have Kemba, Hayward, Brown, and Tatum. All four are going to be paid pretty much max contracts. So if you think about it, they're going to have no cap space for anyone else. So it's just going to be Kemba, Hayward, Brown, and Tatum. These four alone are not good enough to compete with the likes of LeBron James, Anthony Davis, or the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George, or even I'd say the Nets with KD and Kyrie. Next, I'm going to talk about the players' points per game based off their salary. Kemba is the highest paid player on the Celtics, but he's only second highest in scoring. And why is this problematic? Jaylen Brown, who makes $10 million less than him, averages only 0.1 less than him. But the thing is, Jaylen Brown shoots 0.481%, while Kemba only shoots 0.425%. See the issue? Kemba makes way too much for his production. Secondly, Gordon Hayward is the second highest paid player on the team, but he only ranks fourth highest in scoring. And I know this is not completely his fault because of his injury, but it just shows that the Celtics, their two highest paid players, don't produce enough for the amount of money they make. Compared to the Lakers, LeBron James is the highest paid and obviously is the second highest scoring player on the team, and is only averaging 1 point per game less than AD, who is the second highest paid player but scores the most. Next up, I want to talk about the opponents in the playoffs. I know based on the past, the Western Conference has been a lot tougher than the East, but in my opinion, this is about to change. So in the Eastern Conference, the Celtics, they have to play the Raptors, who, in my opinion, have the best coach in the league in Nick Nurse, but that's a whole separate video. The Bucks, with Giannis on an expiring contract, so you already know they're going to try everything they possibly can to win a championship this year before losing Giannis. The Heat, who literally just made the finals and beat the Celtics to get to the finals. You have the 76ers with their new coach Doc Rivers, who in my opinion was a great hire and might actually change the team around, and that again is another video. And we have the Nets with KD and Kyrie, who led by Steve Nash, have great potential. And this is compared to the Western Conference in terms of the Lakers. We have the Clippers, who basically have to hire a new coach who has to deal with the free agencies of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, because let's not forget, 2021 summer, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are all going to be free agents. We have Denver, who they just destroyed in the Western Conference Finals. We have the Houston Rockets, who have to completely change their whole roster because they fired Mike D'Antoni. And if you think about it, the players on Houston, they only work with Mike D'Antoni because they fit his system. So when they get a new coach, they're actually going to have to change their roster and actually get a big man for once. The only real contender in the West, in my opinion, is Golden State with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. But the issue with this team is Andrew Wiggins. The problem with him is that his work ethic is terrible, as we all know, and he shoots the ball too much. The Golden State, the reason why their system works is because no one is selfish on the team. They always pass the ball to the open man, and they keep on moving. Andrew Wiggins is more of an ISO player. He stops the offense so he can take his shot, which he never makes. So in my opinion, Andrew Wiggins is going to completely disrupt the Warriors offense and basically make them not as good as they actually can be, thus giving the Lakers an easier path to the finals. The last point I'm going to talk about is the Celtics draft picks. If we look at the Lakers, what they just did last season, they traded all, or pretty much all of their first round draft picks for AD. Because if you think about it, a draft pick is kind of useless if it's like late 20s, or in this case for the Lakers, their 30th overall pick. Like, this player is not going to help their team. Well, we go to the Celtics, Danny Ainge, he has a boatload of draft picks. But the problem is Danny Ainge, he wants to savor his draft picks and he wants to develop his own draft picks, which I guess he has a sentimental attraction to him. But Danny Ainge, your draft picks don't do anything, because a pick in the late 20s, early 30s is not going to help your team win unless you somehow draft a superstar in the late 20s. But we all know that's very, very unlikely. You might as well trade that pick for one of the best players in the league. And because of these reasons, I don't think that the Celtics can win a championship with their roster currently constructed this way. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.